Welcome back to Old School Sports and our OOTP 23 playthrough of the Kansas City Royals. We are at the end of July of 2017, have had a very eventful trade deadline because the Royals are in a win now mode this season. We're going to have a bunch of arbitration eligible players next year starting to make a lot of money. We're also going to have some players whose contracts run out that we're going to be unlikely to bring back as free agents. So this is kind of the closing of the window of this current Royals team to hopefully be competitive. And the good news is if the season were to end today, we would be in the playoffs. The bad news is we're in second place in the Central right now. We're a game and a half behind Cleveland. And the other piece of bad news is we're only in the playoffs by half a game over both Boston and Detroit. It's a very competitive American League this year with a bunch of teams that have a realistic chance at the playoffs. You can see other than Tampa Bay, Minnesota, Oakland, and Texas, there are 10 teams who are very much in the wild card hunt in the American League. You can see here 10 teams within 3.5 games of the playoffs as we head into August. So given that we are in win now mode and given that we are in a battle with 10 other teams right now for 6 playoff spots in the East, we made several trades over the last couple of weeks before the trade deadline. Most notably, we traded away our excellent reliever Reed Goleman. We traded away our second baseman Nico Horner, who was going to be a free agent at the end of this year and was looking for close to $20 million a year, so we weren't going to re-sign him. And we traded away our right fielder Lee, who we had picked up from the Korean Baseball League about a year and a half ago, as well as our utility shortstop, utility infielder Melvin Moreno, and a couple of minor leaguers. And what we ended up doing, although we lost Goleman in our pitching staff, we ended up bringing on Kris Bubic back to the Royals, Alex Reyes, and most importantly, Zach Willeman to join the Royals pitching staff. So although the loss of Goleman was significant, bringing back Willeman in particular, we think could be a big positive move for the Royals. So feel like our pitching staff is overall better simply because Willeman will be pitching more innings as a starter than Goleman was. At second base, as I mentioned, we traded away Nico Horner, and we have brought on from the Red Sox Trevor Story. Story will have a better bat than Nico Horner, most likely. Is not going to be as good defensively. Horner won 4 Gold Gloves in 5 seasons with the Royals, but overall, view that as a neutral to positive move. Hopefully the better offense from Trevor Story will offset a little lack of defense. And then most importantly, and the most significant acquisition we made was bringing on Julio Rodriguez to become our starting right fielder over Lee. Will definitely be a much better bat, huge bat for us in the lineup. I was a little confused, I think, at the end of last episode. When I first picked him up, I thought he was in his final year and he was going to be a free agent. Then I thought I had seen something that said that we might have a chance at having him back for another year, but he is going to be a free agent after this season, as expected when we brought him on. Just for the fun of it, looked at what he was looking for a contract extension, and you can see he's looking for a 9-year deal over $35 million a year average, total of $320 million. That is clearly not something that the Royals are going to be able to afford. But positively, we upgraded at right field for this year with the Win Now team. And we also got Lee's contract off of the books. That was a mistake that we had made from the KBO, as I mentioned, a season and a half ago. So good that we're going to be out from paying him $17.5 million a year for the next 2 to 3 seasons, depending on whether we picked up his team option or not, which we unlikely would have. So really only had him for another 2.5 seasons, but still glad to move on. So hopefully the additions of Rodriguez and Trevor Story, as well as in the pitching staff, Willeman, Bubic, will make us a better team than we were because we've really been struggling lately. As I mentioned, we are now second in the AL Central. And, looking at our team performance, we got off to a great start: 4-2 March, 15-10 April, 18-12 May. But we've now had a losing record 2 consecutive months in June and July. That being said, our pitching staff is clearly the best in the American League, and we've got an average offense. Ultimately, we've scored sixth in the AL in runs. So sixth in the AL in runs scored and first in the AL in runs allowed should definitely add up to a playoff spot. So hopefully we can play even better over these final 2 months of the season and get into the playoffs, and hopefully do it by becoming AL Central champions rather than sneaking in with the wild card. But we're going to see how these last couple months of the season go as the Royals try to make it back to the postseason for a third year in a row. And Zach Williman's first start for the Royals was definitely not a success. Gave up 9 hits and 6 earned runs over 4 innings. And you can see we then went through 8 relievers in a 12-9 loss to the Padres in 10 innings. So, the month of August is here, and it can't be soon enough as we finished the month of July with another loss. Still only a game and a half out in the AL Central. But now we're actually tied for the final wild card spot with the Yankees. So just illustrates how competitive this run for the playoffs is going to be over these last 2 months of the season. And these Royals, who have really been struggling lately, hopefully we can go on a hot streak here in the heat of August in Kansas City and, win, 18 to 20 games over the month of August and put us into a position where we're going to be feeling pretty confident that we're going to be playing some important baseball in October. And the Royals have played a little better over the last week. You can see we're now tied with Detroit for the lead in the AL Central, half a game ahead of the Guardians. But you can see we're also tied with Detroit for that last wild card spot, and only half a game up on both the Red Sox and the Guardians. So this American League playoff race is pretty insane as we head towards the middle of August. Before we get there, though, going to spend a little time thinking about whether we want to bring back any of our expiring contracts. We've got a number of minor leaguers that we need to think about. You may remember from a previous episode that we signed Dave Groshner as a 1-year trainer. Definitely not going to be signing him to an extension, and hoping that there will be someone a little more talented available this offseason. Scouting director, though, Travis Lee, highly favors tools, outstanding with major leaguers and international scouting, excellent with minor leaguers and amateurs. We signed him when he was a bit of an unknown for $500,000 a year 5 years ago. His contract is coming up, and we certainly want to be bringing Mr. Lee back. He's actually not looking for as much as I feared, $715,000 a year. So we'll see if we can do it somewhat lower, $600,000 a year for the next 5 seasons, and we will see what Mr. Lee thinks of that offer. And we have signed Mr. Lee. So, Mr. Lee, you are back with the Royals for another 5 years as our scouting director. So, very happy to have him on board. We've invested a lot in scouting, and we've invested a lot in player development, and he has done a fantastic job with the big investment we have in scouting of international players, and then also his excellent skills. You can see here we've got 45% of our budget on international scouting, and as I talked about, he's outstanding scouting international players, and he has definitely found some real diamonds in the rough as international free agents for us, which has been huge. Thinking about player development, farm system has improved a little bit over the course of the year. We're now ranked 12th out of 30 overall. Alex Vasquez, Rich Alvarado, and Zach Jacobs are still our only top 100 prospects, but we do have 5 more in the top 150 with Ishmael Zavala, Ricardo Cabrera, who was up with us a little earlier, and will be up again in September, and then we'll be taking over for Trevor Story as our starting second baseman next year. Junior Marin, who we recently moved up to AAA, think that he has potential to be a real important bat for us next year. We're going to have some openings in the outfield with the likely departure of Kyle Lewis, who has been our center fielder for several seasons, as well as the departure of Julio Rodriguez, who we won't be able to sign. So I think Junior Marin could have a big role for us next year. And then some younger players, Aragato Lazioli, who was one of those scouting discoveries that we talked about, a player with really good potential. Another scouting discovery, not a scouting discovery, Melvin Miranda, who was our second round pick a little over a year ago. Still looks like he could become a big-time prospect for us down the line. So we definitely have some talent in the minors, and hopefully the big investments that we have made into both our scouting budget and our development budget will continue to pay off for the Royals. But right now is as pleased as we are with our farm system, and hope that it's going to be providing us some players to replace the people that we're going to be losing this offseason. Right now, our primary focus is making sure that we take care of matters on the field at the major league level this year and get these Royals back into the postseason. Right now, the record stands at 67-58. Up by half a game on the Tigers and a game and a half on the Guardians. So we are back into first place in the AL Central, and we're actually back into a position whereas the AL Central winner right now, we would have a first-round bye. But that shows you just how volatile this playoff situation is for us. There's only 4.5 games separating 4 teams in the Central, and there are still 6 teams within a game and a half and 8 teams within 4 games of those 3 wild card spots. So it is going to be a real run for the playoffs among a bunch of teams here in the American League. Hopefully all those trades that we made will pay off, and we'll be able to get back into the playoffs. And Alex Reyes, who was the third of the pitchers that we traded for over the last several weeks, in addition to Bubic and Williman, both of whom we've talked about, is eligible to come off the IL right now. We are actually going to just send him down for a rehab assignment to the minors. If we have another injury at the major league level, we'll bring him up. Otherwise, we can stash him down in Omaha for the next 2.5 weeks until we get to September call-ups, and then bring him up then. And then hopefully about that time, Mackenzie Gore will be back from the shoulder bursitis, and we can send him on a rehab assignment because he could conceivably be pitching some important innings for us when we get to the playoffs, if we get to the playoffs. And our starting first baseman, Zach DeCenzo, going to be out for 5 to 6 weeks with a hamstring strain. So hopefully he will be back before the playoffs. Finally got some regular playing time this year for the youngster. You can see as a rookie, we got him 307 at-bats, 332 at-bats in his sophomore season. After getting rid of Nick Pratto, turned the position over to DeCenzo. Honestly, he put up a Pratto-type season, a 227 batting average, 21 homers, 69 runs batted in. His OPS plus only 87 though, so actually it's probably a little worse than Pratto's average season with us, but he's less expensive than Pratto, and wanted to see what he could do over the course of a full season. Unfortunately, we won't get that chance since he's going to be out most of the rest of the way, so going to put him on the IL. Hopefully DeCenzo will be healthy for the playoffs, and going to have to figure out who we're going to be having play first base for us. Don't know that we have any great options. Jose Barrero has never played first. Peyton Williams theoretically could slide into that position if we needed. That may be the way that we end up going. It's kind of interesting. We had a surplus of first baseman for so many years, and now we don't have an obvious player to play there. We obviously could bring up Greg Bird or Zach Cook from Omaha. But I think, honestly, we want to get Cabrera back up at some point. I don't know what else he has to learn in Omaha. Unfortunately, he doesn't play first base, but we'll give it some thought and decide exactly who we're going to bring up to take that roster spot. Like I said, we do have potential if we need that. Peyton Williams, who is having a fantastic season for us with 39 homers, 91 ribbies while batting .260, putting up a 142 OPS plus, could certainly play a acceptable first base for us. He's been DH most of the season. You can see he's only played a total of 61 innings at first base and no time at second base. Don't really know why he's listed there, since it doesn't look like he's actually taken the field at second base, but maybe don't know what happened there. So Williams is always an option. Williams would be the option if we decide to bring Ricardo Cabrera back up. Lucas Ishmaeli, who we have not had at the major league level yet, but was a first-round draft pick of our team back in 2023. Moved up from AA to AAA this year. Hit .323 in AA. Doesn't have a lot of power, but batting just .264 in Omaha. Hard to imagine that a guy with that little power is going to be a major league first baseman for us, but he would be an option also. And then, as I mentioned, Greg Bird, the veteran, great personality, but don't see him being the guy that we're going to bring up. Zach Cook, 29-year-old, not the long-term answer by any stretch of the imagination, but he is pretty versatile defensively and has a good personality, so he is an option. But quite honestly, I think it's just going to be a matter of I guess Ahmed Rosario actually doesn't play first base. I think we're just going to bring Ricardo Cabrera back up. We don't want to force start Cabrera anymore, though, at the major league level. So we will take that off, and presumably Peyton Williams is going to slide over to first base in this. But let's see what Byron Nichols says. Yeah, Peyton Williams goes to first base, bats cleanup still against righties, and plays first base against lefties. And that lets Sal Frelick move to DH against righties, and Stephen Paulini gets into the lineup against lefties. And then Jose Barrero, the utility infielder, actually gets the DH at bats against lefties. So unfortunately, that means that Cabrera is not going to be playing. So although we're happy to, how many times have we sent him down? Just want to make sure that we maintain flexibility. Only been optioned twice, so we can definitely send Cabrera down again. Want to make sure that he's getting at bats. So unfortunately for Mr. Cabrera, we are going to send him back down and bring up someone to kind of be a utility infielder for us. I think give Lucas Ishmaeli a chance, 25-year-old former first-round pick. I don't think he's a long-term answer for us, but would be interesting to see what he can do at a major league level. And given that I don't think he's really a long-term answer for us, don't feel as bad if he's not getting at-bats every day as opposed to Cabrera. So hopefully the injury to Mr. DeCenzo doesn't cause us any long-term issues, and we'll get a little bit of time in the field from Peyton Williams rather than him just being a DH for us. And another injury for these brittle Royals. Sal Frelick is day-to-day with back spasms, having a really nice year for us, batting .323, one of the top hitters in the AL, 29 steals, only caught stealing twice, 135 OPS plus. So real nice year for the fragile left fielder. minimal impact on hitting, moderate impact on throwing. With the fact that it's going to be a week, we're actually going to just throw him on the IL rather than just kind of sit him for 7 days. Given that he's fragile, I don't really want to push things. And we do have some outfielders at AAA that I would not mind seeing at the major league level. Would really love to see Will Taylor there. An elbow contusion, going to impact his throwing for 2 days. I think it might be time to see what Taylor can do at a major league level. Picked him up with a trade from Toronto about 10 months ago. He is certainly in the mix to potentially be our center fielder next year. Not great defensively, but certainly acceptable defensively. Doesn't look like he's really going to have too much of a bat. He's very fast, good at stealing, pretty solid base runner too. So it would be interesting to see what he can do at the major league level. The other option would be to bring up Daniel Cabrera back up, but he's almost 29 years old. He's been up with us on several occasions. I think we kind of know what we have with them. So even though Taylor is banged up, we are going to give him a chance to make his major league debut over the coming days with the Royals. So with Lucas Ishmaeli and Will Taylor, we've got a couple of young, I wouldn't say top prospects, but a couple of young people in our system who could end up having a role on this team over the next few years in the majors right now with those injuries to DeCenzo and Frelick. So hopefully you can get a little better taste of what those guys might be able to do at the major league level over the next week to 10 days until hopefully we get Frelick back in relatively short order. And obviously it's going to be a while till we get DeCenzo back. And Frelick is ready to come back, which is positive. Will Taylor really didn't get any action at all over the 10 days he was up, played in one game, but didn't even get an at-bat. So it was definitely, not all that important to have him on the roster. Unfortunately, didn't get much playing time. Let's see what Lucas Ishmaeli has been doing. And similar for him, not quite as bad, but he's played in just 6 games, has 1 hit and 4 at-bats. So, I guess it's good that our rest of our team has been healthy enough and durable enough that we haven't had to rely on those youngsters at all. But certainly will be good to have Frelick back in the lineup every day for us. And he's going to move right back into the DH role against righties and then be playing left field against lefties, batting first. Team has been playing better as of late, up by 2 games in the AL Central. So that's positive, but still, we're up 2.5 on Cleveland for the AL Central, and Cleveland is 2 games out of the wild card. So it's still going to be a battle to make these playoffs. And you can see Frelick, good to have him back with that .323 batting average. He is in a battle with Adley Rutschman and Emmanuel Rodriguez to be the AL leader in batting average this year. Peyton Williams has a 2-home run lead on Vlad Guerrero Jr. to lead the league in homers. And then Rodriguez, Frelick, and Bobby Witt Jr. are 1, 2, and 3 in stolen bases. So having some good years. Spencer Bauer now leading the league in ERA, 3rd in strikeouts, and 1st in pitcher WAR. So 10-8 record with a 2.97 ERA, 177 strikeouts over 148 and a third innings. Certainly would think that Spencer Bauer could be in the mix for an AL Cy Young Award. We won it last year with Trevor Rogers, who's out for the year, so would be nice to win back-to-back Cy Young Awards if Bauer, can maybe win 4 or 5 games over the rest of the year, keep his ERA, kind of in the high 2s or low 3s. I think he'd be a pretty strong candidate for the award, and we're going to need every win that he and the rest of the starters can deliver to us over these next 5 weeks or so until we get to the end of the season. And the Royals have made it to September, and September roster expansion. Looking at the standings, up by a game and a half on both Detroit and Cleveland in the AL Central. 76 and 66 record. This AL is incredible. Baltimore has 80 wins. They seem like the strongest team in the AL, obviously in terms of wins, but they're still only up by a game and a half. But you look at 80 wins from Baltimore, 78 from Boston and Toronto, 76 from the Yankees, 76 from the Royals, 74 from the Tigers, 75 from the Guardians, 75 from the Angels, 74 from the Astros, and, so there are 9 teams that are within 6 games of one another in the win column. And honestly, Seattle with 72 wins and now the White Sox with 71 wins are both in the playoff mix. So things have actually gotten pretty crazy. There still are, 11 of the 15 teams in the American League are absolutely in the playoff hunt as we head into the final month of the season. So hopefully the trades that the Royals have made will allow us to get back into the playoffs. And before we get playing, going to figure out exactly who we are going to bring up to get the roster up to 28 players. One obvious move is to bring up Reyes, who pitched pretty good down in AAA in a few games there. Going to put Reyes onto the team to give us a 14th pitcher. Now the big question is, who are we going to bring up to be our 14th batter? And we will spend a little time thinking about that. Obviously, would love to get Ricardo Cabrera back up, but quite honestly, if he's not going to be playing every day with Story at second base, Witt Jr. at third base, and Lopez at short, I'd almost rather he just continues to play every day down in Omaha. Obviously, if we have an injury to any of those 3 players, that would open up a roster spot for him, and he would come right up. But until then, and hopefully it won't happen. So hopefully it won't be an until then with injury to one of those 3 key players. But I want to make sure he keeps getting at bat, so I don't know that he's actually who we're going to bring up right now. And I've actually rethought things, and we are going to bring Cabrera up. We are in a pennant race. We are trying to win right now. He's the best player we have in AAA. Hit 279 with a 110 OPS plus and 122 at-bats at the major league level. When we had some injuries earlier this season, he was able to play every day. Gives us good defensive versatility, particularly at second and third. Can play short for us in a pinch. He's not going to get as many at-bats at the major league level as he would, the last few weeks of the season in Omaha, but, he's pretty close to fully developed at this point anyways, at least according to our scout. According to the OSA, he's got a little more unrealized potential at this point, but I tend to think that Travis Lee is probably more accurate than the OSA on him, so I think it's more important that we bring him up, give Mr. Nichols a little more versatility in terms of pinch hitting for people, a little more versatility in terms of players who can hopefully play defensively at multiple positions. So bring Cabrera back up to the major league roster for the last month of the season. And as I mentioned, Alex Reyes is back too. So those are the 2 moves we make as we prepare for these final few weeks of the season and the push for the playoffs. And the Royals got a nice 10-inning win against Minnesota yesterday. Austin Roberts, our closer, got the win in relief. Nicky Lopez with a run-scoring double in the 10th to get the victory for the Royals, which was positive. Mackenzie Gore now coming back from the IL, so we are going to send him on a rehab assignment to Omaha. Hopefully he can get at least a start or 2 down there, and then we may have a little bit of a decision to make as to who we would send down to make room for Mr. Gore as we get closer to the playoffs, hopefully. And another week in the books. The Royals 79 and 68, up one game on the Guardians, 2.5 on the Tigers. But the Guardians are out of the playoffs right now, so it's really going to be critical to win this American League Central. There's so much talent in the AL East, and the Angels and the Mariners are in the mix also. But right now, it's conceivable that 4 playoff teams come out of the AL East, and actually we're tied with the Toronto Blue Jays for the 4th best record in the American League right now. So the 4 of the 5 best teams are in the AL East right now. Our hope maybe is that some of those teams have a lot of games against each other over these last few weeks of the season, and they beat each other up a little bit. But it's conceivable that there will be 4 playoff teams from the AL East, which means that we are definitely going to need to fight to hold on to this AL Central, where there are 4 teams within 5.5 games and 3 teams within 2.5. So it's going to be a battle down the stretch here for us. And another week is in the books. We're 82 and 71, still only up by a game. And right now, the American League the AL East does have the 4 best teams in the entire American League. Is the division leading Royals, us in the Central, and the division leading Astros in the West are both half a game worse than the Yankees right now. So it's conceivable that we're going to need to win the division to be in the playoffs. So it's going to be a crazy last week and a half of the season. Take a look at the schedule here for the Royals and see who we're going up against. We're on the road for the last 9 games of the season too, so a tough break for us. We've got 3 at Chicago against the White Sox, and then we finish with 6 on the road in Detroit. So that is a potentially brutal schedule for us. 9 games in a row on the road to finish against division foes. White Sox are 4.5 behind us, and the Tigers are 3 behind us. So the 2 teams that are chasing us, 2 of the 3 teams that are really chasing us, along with the Guardians, are going to get a crack at us over this last 9 games of the season. But it is going to be a crazy finish here in the American League. But before we finish these last 9 games, just take a look at a few of the interesting statistical things. Frelick fighting for a batting title, still with Rutschman, and Horner. Interesting. Wanted to check in on how our old buddy was doing, and he was really good with us, and he's been fantastic with Seattle, hitting .336 over 134 at-bats, 137 OPS plus. So excellent run by our old friend Nico Horner. Peyton Williams still in the battle with Vlad Guerrero Jr. to lead the league in homers. Still have the top 3 guys in the league in steals. ERA, Spencer Bauer is now 2nd, still 3rd in strikeouts, and still leading the AL in pitcher WAR. So I think Bauer, who is now 12 and 9, definitely, and has 201 strikeouts now and 166 and a third innings, definitely has a chance to give us a repeat Cy Young Award winner. I guess not a repeat, but back-to-back Cy Young Award winners would be a better way to explain it. But seeing the way Nico Horner has torn up the ball for Seattle, I'll have to take a look at how Trevor Story has done for our team so far. And he's actually been pretty good. We thought he would give us a good bat, and he's batted .292 with 7 homers and 154 at-bats, 134 OPS plus, and a 1.7 WAR since he joined us. So have to be satisfied with how he's performed. Julio Rodriguez has been solid, .267 batting average, but importantly 13 homers and 37 runs driven in and 172 at-bats. 135 OPS plus, 130 WRC plus. Little surprised, not based on looking at those stats, since Story has been really good, but a little surprised that Rodriguez doesn't have as high WAR as Story since he joined us. But looks like they have both picked up their end of the bargain. And Zach Williman has been respectable. 3.54 ERA, 2-1 record with 44 strikeouts and 40 and 2/3 innings pitched. Bubic, since we picked him up, a 3.00 ERA over 33 innings. And then Alex Reyes, we only recently brought him up from that rehab assignment, but a 2.08 ERA across 3 games with us. So the players we brought on board have been respectable. We'll check in on what Reed Goleman has done. And since he left us and went to Seattle, he has been even better than he was with us, with a 0.53 ERA and 17 innings pitched. So he has been fantastic for them. And then last but not least, Young-Hoo Lee. What has he done with the Angels? And he's hit well with the Angels, kind of typical Young-Hoo Lee, 309 batting average, 112 OPS plus. No home runs, though, across 165 at-bats. So I wouldn't say that there's any real shocks among the players that we traded away and how they've performed, or the players that we picked up and how they've performed. But we've shot our shot. Now we're going to see what happens over these last 9 games of the regular season as we try to hopefully take care of Chicago and Detroit in these last 9 games on the road and get these Royals back into the playoffs. And we're going to go live in these games as we kind of try to finish this regular season at Chicago up against Jorangelo Cinche, who is a brilliant pitching profile. Wow. He 24-year-old who is 10-10 with a 3.53 ERA, but he looks like he could be competing for Cy Young Awards for many years to come. Made an all-star team for the first time this season. Hopefully the Royals can get a W against him. And hopefully it doesn't take too long for my computer to do this, because watching the little blue circle go back and forth cannot be all that exciting for anybody. It's not that exciting for me. And we did get a 7-5 win. We've had a minor league manager retire, but a big win for the Royals in that first game. Taking a look at the standings now, we are up 2 on the Guardians, up 4 on the Tigers, and 5.5 on the White Sox. So that was a big win for us with the Guardians, Tigers, and White Sox all losing. So that was positive and a step in the right direction for us. As I mentioned, it looks like there could very well be 4 teams out of the AL East, and it's conceivable that the AL Central and AL West division winners will have the 5th and 6th best records in the American League. But if we win the division and we have a better record than the Astros, who will presumably win the West, we would still have a first-round bye, even though it's conceivable that there's going to be 4 teams with a better record than us. So we are, not just playing for getting into the playoffs. There's still potential for the Royals to have a bye in the first round of the playoffs, which would be huge. So these last 8 games on the road are going to be critical. In Game 2 of this White Sox series, on the road, going against Kumar Rocker, split the year between the Colorado and the White Sox. So it's definitely been better since he got out of the light air in Denver. Has pitched pretty well since he came over to the White Sox. Let's see how this game goes. And another win for us. So that was big to win the first 2 games of the series on the road. Let's see what the standings look like. Up by 3 games now with the Guardians having lost. So if we could get a sweep here against the White Sox, that would be huge. Huge matchup, though. We're going up against Garrett Crochet, who is 14-6 with a 2.75 ERA, has put up a 3.7 WAR on the season. was an all-star last year, actually was not an all-star this year, but looks like Garrett Crochet is leading the league in wins. As I mentioned, tied for second behind Bauer in pitcher WAR. Has a better ERA than Bauer, just doesn't have enough innings to qualify right now, but it would be pretty good in terms of Spencer Bauer's chances of getting a Cy Young Award if we are able to beat up Mr. Crochet a little bit today. So we will see how this game goes, but let's check who's going to be on the mound for us. Ricky Vanasco, the youngster, 12-7 with a 3.53 ERA on the mound for the Royals here against the Chicago White Sox as we go for a sweep against the White Sox. And again, I know looking at this blue spinning circle is riveting, and we do lose the final game of the series. So we would have taken a series win 2-1 heading into the series. Obviously get a little bit greedy. When you win the first two in the series, and both the Guardians and the Tigers and the White Sox all won. So that definitely tightens up the AL Central. And you can see here the Astros did sweep their series, so they are a game ahead of us. So even though we are up by 2 games, it would win the AL Central at this point. If the season ended today, we would be in a wild card series with the worst record of any of the division winners. So it is a crazy battle in this American League. You can see still a lot of teams still alive for the playoffs, but a lot is going to be settled over these next few days, and we are going to be playing at Detroit. Would be nice to win the first couple games of the series, just knock them out of contention, and then if the Tigers aren't playing for anything down the stretch, hopefully they'll roll over at some point for these last 6 games here in Detroit. And before we finish up the season, just taking a look at Mackenzie Gore, just pitched his 3rd straight start down in Omaha, went 121 pitches 2 days ago. He's been good down there, 2-1 record, 23 strikeouts over 18 1/3 innings, 3.93 ERA. So he has certainly gotten the work that he needs. We'll consider bringing him up in a couple of days. Potential for him to at least pitch 1 game for us down the stretch, or he may very well end up in the bullpen too. But we need to take care of business. I think if we win 4 out of 6 in Detroit, we will most likely, or actually we will almost certainly win the division. Actually, if we win 4 out of 6 when we have, I believe, a 2-game lead, 4 out of 6 gets us at worst a tie with the Guardians, and they would need to go 6-0 down the stretch. So the goal is to win the series here in Detroit. Game 1 of the series, we are going to be going up against Dylan Eskew, 12-8 with a 4.11 ERA. Zach Williman, who we picked up to help us in the stretch run, is on the mound for the Royals. So let's see how it goes. And a 5-1 win for Detroit, so that is positive. Sal Frelick banged up for the next 3 days. That is not optimal with hamstring soreness. I don't know that we're going to be willing to take him out of the lineup as we're here fighting for the playoffs. Let's see what the standings look like. And the Guardians did lose, and obviously the Tigers lost to us, so that's positive. So we're up 3 with 5 games to go. And we are now tied with the Astros for the, not the second best record in the American League, but tied for the second best record among a potential division winner. And they are up 4.5, so they are close to clinching. We've still got a battle ahead of us, but we are up 3 with 5 games to go, so have to like where we are right now. I don't think we're going to sit Frelick at this point. Hopefully he doesn't experience a significant injury if we clinch, and he's still banged up, would certainly rest him then. But we're trying to get into the playoffs, and we've got a tough matchup today against Noah Syndergaard, 11-7 with a 3.50 earned run average. On the mound for us, Hayden Wisniewski, 8-6, 3.46 ERA on the season. So can the Royals win another game on the road? And actually, I was on yesterday, so I haven't actually simmed ahead to find out whether we're going to win that game yet. But let's see the news. Francisco Urbanez injured. All right, now let's see how we do against Syndergaard. Isn't it exciting to watch this little blue circle as we near the end of this season? I feel like there must be something going on in the background with my computer, because this is taking an awful lot of time to simulate one game. Either that or I'm going to get about 27 emails saying that a bunch of players got hurt in this game against the Tigers. And a 4-2 victory, so things are coming up Millhouse for these Kansas City Royals. Still only up 3, so we haven't clinched the division yet. Still tied with the Astros for the second best record among the division leaders. Let's move on to tomorrow and see what the pitching matchups look like. Yeah, Jose Barrero, I know you're complaining, but you are not part of the starting lineup, so you're going to just have to suck it up over these last 4 games of the year. Moving back to our team schedule. Oh. And I guess I did, I already simmed ahead another game, so we lost 4-6 to the Royals. So, oh, yeah, they were on today. So, sorry, I wanted to spend a little more time building that up and seeing what happened. 3 games to go in the season, and we are up by 3 games. So the magic number is down to 1. Very close to clinching the division. Unfortunately, we are behind the Astros by a game for the second best record among a division leader. So going to have to finish strong to get past the Astros. Would obviously be optimal to avoid a wild card series against one of those strong teams from the AL East, if at all possible. But right now we are focused on hopefully winning today and clinching a playoff spot. Going to be a tough matchup for us, going up against Austin Becker, 13-5 with a 4.05 earned run average. And actually, before I play that game, I need to figure out whether I want to bring Mackenzie Gore up to the majors. And I know it sounds kind of crazy, but there's really no obvious person that we want to demote for Mackenzie Gore. JT Ginn has kind of pitched the worst of anybody with a 4.65 ERA over 102 thirds innings. It's possible that Gore will make the playoff roster when I have to make the decisions to get the 28 down to 26, but he's got action in Omaha to kind of get his arm back and healthy, and pitch some innings down there. Actually, not going to bring him up. We've been playing well lately. Don't want to mess with a good thing. We've got the mojo going. We're 1 game away. Looking at this game against Detroit, we've got Caleb Lagerwell, 13-3 with a 3.56 ERA on the mound. He's kind of one of our de facto aces right now. Although clearly the expectation is that Bauer is going to be in the running for the Cy Young Award. But Lagerwell is on the mound as we try to clinch an American League Central title and clinch a return to the playoffs. And we weren't able to get it done with a 10-5 loss. But and the Guardians won, so we still haven't clinched. Magic number remains 1 with 2 games to go. And looking at the rest of the standings, the good news is that the Astros finally lost. So if we go 2-0 and the Astros go 0-2, we will avoid a wild card series. I don't know whether they would make us play a one-game series to see who would get home field advantage and avoid that first-round wild card series. I'm not really sure what the rules are on that. Hopefully we win 2 and they lose 2 and we don't have to find out. But moving on to the 161st game of this regular season. And after, winning the first 2, we lost the third to the White Sox. We won the first 2 in Detroit, and now we've lost 2 in a row. Don't want to mess around at this point. We're going up against Jared Kelly, who was 7-13 with a 4.17 ERA. Ricky Vanasco on the mound for the Royals as we try to finally clinch a playoff spot. And we finally did it, a 10-1 victory, so got a great performance from Vanasco. 1 hit, 8 strikeouts over 8 2/3. He's going to finish with a really nice season. But the Kansas City Royals have won the American League Central on the penultimate day of the season. So that is positive. Let's take a look at the standings and see where we... and we are now tied with the Astros. They've lost 2 in a row. So we do have the potential, if we win this last game of the season, to get a first-round bye, even though 3 of the teams in the American League East have better records than us right now. So we are back in the playoffs, but we are still fighting for a bye. As you may have seen, Zach DeCenzo is potentially back, so we are actually going to bring him right up. Happy to send Lucas Ishmael, who you can see has not played much at all, 17 games, but only 7 at-bats with 1 hit. Probably not a huge part of our team's future, so we will send him down to Omaha. Mr. DeCenzo is back for the final game of the season. Mr. DeCenzo back in the lineup as our first baseman, batting 7th against righties and 6th against lefties. MJ Melendez with a thumb contusion day-to-day. Minimal impact on hitting and throwing. Not going to take him out of the lineup because of that. So this is a huge game for us. This could be the difference between a best-of-3 series. If we lose, we may be hosting a best-of-3 in the wild card. If we win this, we get a first round. We potentially get a first round bye if we win this and Houston also loses, and then don't have to play that first round series and would then have home field advantage for a best of 5. So huge game here for the Royals in game 162. We're going to see what Zach Willeman can do. He is 8-4 on the year with a 3.35 ERA, 2-1 with us with a 3.43 ERA. Let's see if he can come through big for us against Dylan Eskew in the final game of the regular season. And if you thought the blue circle was taking a long time before, oh, wow, interesting. Our first 30-30 player with Julio Rodriguez, and Sal Frelick ends up winning the batting title. 6-2 record. Importantly, let's go see what happened with the Astros. And the Astros also won, so we were both 88-74. It's going to be interesting to see what that means. Did they flip a coin? Did they go by head-to-head, or do we play a one-game playoff or something against them to see who gets to have that home field advantage in the, or not the home field advantage, but who gets a bye for the first round of the playoffs? Will be interesting to see what happens on that front. As I said, I don't actually know the answer to that. And it looks like they gave us the bye. The Yankees are going to be going against the Astros. So we got the bye. So couldn't get any closer than that. Big season for the Royals, although our record slipped to 88 and 74. We got the American League Central title, and we've got a first round bye in the playoffs. So things worked out as good as they possibly could. Frelick wins the batting title. Peyton Williams just edged by Vlad Guerrero Jr. for the home run title. You can see we had the top three guys in the AL in steals. Ooh, let's peek in at Bobby Witt Jr., see how his season ended up. Not a great season from Witt Jr., definitely the worst season of his 6-year career. Banged up a little bit, so he only played 131 games, but hit just 253, 18 homers, 68 ribbies. Was very efficient again on the base paths with 31 steals, just 4 caught stealings, but 93 OPS plus, 91 WRC plus, and a 3.1 WAR. So definitely, without a doubt, it was the worst year of Bobby Witt Jr.'s career. He had a 112 OPS plus in his previous worst season with a 110 WRC plus. So a extraordinary poor year for Mr. Witt Jr., but hopefully he'll have the opportunity to redeem himself in the playoffs. Spencer Bauer ended up with a 12-10 record, so he was not as good down the stretch. 3.14 ERA, 212 strikeouts in 175 innings pitched. Garrett Crochet, 14-6, 2.87 ERA. I would have to think that with a lower ERA and a much better one-loss record, more wins, tied for the league lead. Although Bauer was third in strikeouts, and Bauer still ended up edging Crochet in pitcher WAR. It's going to be a battle between those guys to see who wins the AL Cy Young Award. But we will worry about the awards in the next episode. Right now, we are pleased that the Royals are back in the playoffs, and we will cover the postseason in the next episode. Until then, thank you so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.